evening, after dark, out in the streets of Atlanta. His name's Casey Darnell. Really super talented musician. Really like him a lot. He contacted me a while ago and needing press kit stuff and promo and CD artwork and all of that. So we're going out to shoot for that tonight. But we're going to be shooting after dark, looking for interesting street scenes and just kind of interesting locations, just out and about in the streets of Atlanta. And we're going to have to use long shutter speeds to pull in the ambient light, because there's not going to be a whole lot of ambient light. And of course our one light.
My name is Casey Darnell, and I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, worship leader here in the Atlanta area.
We are waiting for the light to drop a little bit. While we do so, I found this scene. Sometimes chain link can be just a little bit predictable, but we've got a really nice sky tonight, and we're just simply holding here until we go down to this tunnel where we really want to shoot. So if I've got a few minutes, I'll go ahead and shoot it. I have a Sunpack 120J and a Westcott 28-inch softbox set to quarter power, and I'm shooting at ISO 100, and I'll figure out my settings from there. A light test.
Yeah.
And it's good. I've got some blown out highlights on the white shirt. I shot that at f5 at 60th of a second. I'm going to go ahead and go to 5.6. Change my angle of my light just a bit. Hold that. I like the sky a lot, but all of the background not being lit is really dark, and his dark jeans are fading back into it. I may try a lower shooting angle. And I'm going to change lenses real quick. I'm going to go to my 80 to 200. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move Casey away from the chain link. I'm going to try to use my lens at 200 at 2.8. Let's come on back this way some. Use my lens at 200 at 2.8. I should be able to get that fence to just blow out of focus completely, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. So my flash to subject distance changed, plus I've gone down to my lowest power setting. That last series of pictures was shot at 5.6, like quarter power, so I've gone 8/16, so I can go 5.6, 4, 2.8. Good, just hanging out right there. I've got a good exposure on Casey at 2.8. I'm shooting at 2.8 at 100th of a second. I'm going to go down to 60th of a second. Look at my sky. Good, hold right there. I'm hand holding at 60th of a second, so I got to make sure I'm pretty firm in my camera skills. My sky's getting darker, and I have to go with a slower shutter speed. I'm going down to 30th of a second. Got to hold still. I can shoot quickly because I'm at my lowest flash setting. And I've got a chimp just to make sure I'm sharp. I'm getting a little bit of ghosting because I'm shooting such a long lens at 30th of a second. I think that's my shot right there. That is my shot. All right, let's get this Alien B on Casey here. I'm going with the Alien B right now with a 20-degree grid. I decided to pull the Alien B out right now because I want it in just a minute in this tunnel thing over here. I want to light that whole tunnel up somehow. So we're going to see how that works. So I don't need as much power as this Alien B is going to give me, but instead of having to set up one light and then set up another light later, I'm just going to go with the Alien B at its lowest power settings. And working with grid spots, especially something small like a 10 or a 20 degree, it's a little difficult to aim, but I got it right on him. I want kind of a really strong stance here. Good. And I just want a little circle of light on Casey. I'm going to pick up a little bit of his shadow right behind him. What's that? Straight. Yeah. I'm just going to do a test. I'm probably going to be somewhere around F5, 6 or something maybe. Let's just see. F5, baby. I'm shooting at half a second. Trying to draw in the ambient behind Casey. I don't have any ambient light falling on him right now. No, I don't want to delete that. Good, right there. Hold that. Good, right there. This looks really good. Hold that. So the grid spot, just keeping the light on Casey, not really lighting the whole environment. I want the rest of the environment to be lit by the ambient light. I am going to need the video light maybe feathered off that way. I'm getting, go ahead and turn it off for just a minute. So I've got a little bit of ambient hitting him, but I think my flash is killing most of it. I've got a little too much ambient coming onto him. I'm not quite killing it with my flash. So, I'm not loving it. What I'm going to do is kill all the ambient light now. I'm going up to 2/50th of a second at F5 with the grid spot. Yeah, I'm going to go to 1/4 of a second. And let's get that 105 out real quick. I want to really compact the background. Put it right there. That's good. Hold that. Chin up a little bit. Got to keep his chin up to keep light into the eyes, or the eye sockets get too dark with the placement of my light right now. And then just bring your eyes to me. Good. Hold that. I'm going to slow my shutter speed down just a bit more, almost a half a second. Good. Standing still, chin up a little bit. Right there. All right. Standing really still. A half a second, I'm going to have some sort of amount of ghosting in the photo. And if I can find one where it's acceptable, I'm going to go with it. Good. Right there, holding real still. That's good. That works. All right, let's go into the tunnel. I love this tunnel. I'm hoping to just blow it with light. Initially, this isn't going to be a portrait because he's going to be really small in the frame, so I'm thinking more like CD artwork. This light, ambient light reading here is a little too bright. Eric, go ahead and walk that up. It's like I see the shot in my head, but I'm not finding it with my light yet. That's good. And drop it a little bit lower. And then Casey, I want you standing right here, really strong, facing out this way. I'm just going to kind of backlight him, try to get a silhouette. I don't like where I can see the edge of the exit of the tunnel. I think I would need a lot more light to really light this tunnel up. Good. I'm just shooting some test shots just to see what I see. Yeah. All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's bring this down to a low power setting, like all the way. Let's throw the 20 degree on it. And Casey, I want you kind of hanging out right here. And Eric, go ahead and put that light over there with the grid just right here. All right. So the idea in my head was just to fill this whole thing with light, but I need more light. It's a really big space, and I'm not quite pulling it off, even with a B1600 at full power and bumping my ISO. I'm just not finding it. So this is one of those situations. Let's bring that light up a little more. That's probably good, and bring it all the way to the sidewalk so it's out of frame. So if I'm not finding the shot that I see in my head right away, I get frustrated and I'll drop it. And I'll think about it later. Okay, I'm firing. Casey, you just hanging out like you are right now? I'm gonna go with 5.6 at 30th and just see what this looks like. And again, I'm not thinking like full-on portrait, I'm thinking just CD artwork. Car. So I'm just gonna use that grid spot just to bring a spot of light onto Casey. I want my lighting for this shot to be very deliberate. I'm thinking it's probably going to look best black and white because the color temperature of these weird lights in here is nothing I have a gel for. So I'm just going to shoot a couple different compositions of this frame, and then we're going to move on. I'm going to slow my shutter speed down even more, like 1/8 of a second. Good, just hanging right out there, Casey. That's a little much. I'm going to go 15th, but too much ambient light coming in. I'm going to try something a little different, Casey. I'm going to get my composition lined up. And when I tell you to go, I'd like you to go back down the sidewalk and like come running back this way. Ready? Go. Good. I'm going to do that again. But now you're going to be running right at the camera. So you're in the air between there and that line in the curb right there. Yeah. Speeding up my shutter speed just a bit to get a little less blur as he runs. And go. Yeah. We'll go with that. We're going to shoot a skyline shot. You'll definitely find this in wedding applications. We don't have a bride and groom today. Not that this is going to be a bride and groom picture, but it's nice, huh? I like the height of these buildings back here. Casey, let me get you over here. There's a big street lamp right behind him that I've got to kind of block him with. And I'm just going to shoot a test frame. Just a test shot. My flash exposure looks good. I'm at f4 at 1 second. Casey, I'm going to have you come over here this way. I'm going to try to use the lines of the parking lot and of this wall to kind of lead into the shot. What I wish is I had more density. This really is a dusk shot.
Security.
Oh, awesome. It's a dusk shot. All right, security's here. We're going to wrap it up. Hey, how's it going? What's that?
Are you the professor? I have 5 people up here on the roof filming. Is anyone up here student?
No.
You're on private property.
Okay, we're leaving.
None of them.
Let's pack it up.
They're on private property. They are vacating now.
All right, well, we just got kicked off the rooftop there by security at one of the local art schools. And it's a lot like living college over again for me because I got kicked out of art school when I went to the University of Georgia. I was there for about a year and failed miserably. And while that rooftop wasn't like a complete, just miserable failure, I wasn't really loving it up there. If it was dusk and we still had some nice density in the sky, I think I would have liked it a lot more. Also, the really high walls that were going around that parking deck up there kind of really sort of just cut out the view. And trying to translate that view into a good portrait with that high of a wall, it's kind of a challenge. So it's just as well we got kicked off of that location because I was kind of over it anyways. We're going to head off into the back alleys of Buckhead now, and hopefully we don't get, you know, hassled by all of the drunk revelers that is Buckhead on a Friday night. Hey, come have your picture made. Come get your picture made. Come on, come get your picture made. What?
This girl's got wild.
No. Y'all already went wild. So I'm digging this metal rack formation thing here. Gonna do something with that. And what I have is a 120J up in the 50-inch Westcott. And we're just kind of flying it up over top of it to allow the light to come down. And some of that metal will kind of kick the light back around. And yeah, I mean, it's just an exercise of finding a shot wherever we can find one. Available light doesn't matter to me at all right now because there really isn't any available light other than the video light that we've got. I've got my 120J set to 16th power, and because I don't need a lot of power in here, I'm just going to do a quick test shot to see what this looks like. You just kind of head cocked back just a little bit right there. I just need light getting back up into his eyes. I need this light to come a little more into his eyes, so I'm going to pull it forward a little more. I'm going to do an overall shot. I want to see what this looks like. Yeah. Good, looking out over my head. Good, hold that. What's that?
We got it.
Okay. We're moving. Wow. All right.
You got time.
Okay, good. Yeah. Cops aren't going to get here anytime soon.
One just drove by.
One just drove by? Awesome.
Are they still out there? Yeah. Yeah, we gotta go.
Okay, we're going. Awesome. Man, we're 2 for 2 tonight. We're going!
Oh, no, we're going to roll out. We're rolling out.
So, we just got kicked off from another location.
We are 2 for 2.
Not that this is, I mean, you expect this, but...
Right. Well, I wasn't expecting to shoot by a dumpster at a Walgreens either.
Right.
But it was pretty cool and definitely worth yanking out all the gear. And, you know, it's just one of those things, you see something and you don't have a whole lot of gear to have to worry about. It's just small little battery-powered flashes in a, you know, in a softbox. You can pull it out really quick.
Let's talk about something that you mentioned really vaguely back there, and that was, you know, what is the shot saying?
Right.
What might you have to say to folks on, you know, the message, the meaning of a shot, and what should folks think about, or is that not even something on your radar real much? Or?
It is. It's always on my radar. Like, okay, what is this shot conveying? Sometimes I just need a very clean, compelling portrait I'm an editorial shooter. So if I can give my client something that, especially kind of like local unsigned artists, if I give them something that looks like it's from a magazine, then that's the simplest shot to start with. And then to get something more conceptual or something that's a little different, like packing your subject up into some, whatever those things were, wire bread racks or something. And at one point I'm shooting through the wire, and with the way the light and the composition and the wide angle lens, it sort of gave it like some sort of, I don't know, prison or jail look with bars and, you know, what's going on here. And it was enough to make me stop and think, okay, what is this saying? Visually, it's an interesting image, and I'm going to shoot it. And I may deliver it to the client, and they say, you know, this really doesn't go with anything at all of what I'm trying to do with my music or with the pictures I want.
But go ahead and get the shot.
Go ahead and get the shot,
yeah.
because, I mean, you're shooting for yourself at the same time. I'm shooting for me, and if it's something that I think, hey, this is going to go on my site, or this could go in the book, it may not work for my client's needs, despite the fact, hey, that's a cool shot. I'm just not going to use that for my CD artwork because, you know, my CD's not about jail time. But it's definitely something I would do on an editorial assignment, because you've got to work quickly and make some sort of interesting shot that's going to make a reader or a viewer stop and say, hey, I want to see what this is. Ooh, they're the police, Georgia State Patrol, and I got drive-out tags.
Probably enough said. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean,
Cool.
you know, I want it to mean something, and I definitely want it to mean something for my client or my subject. But at the same time, you come across a shot and say, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to just go with it, whether it means something or not. It's just visually an interesting image. And that's kind of what we were running into back there in the dumpster. We're setting up for just straight up kind of like back alley night shoot. And the philosophy that I'm thinking about, if we can kill the video light for just a second, is with all of this low light in the background, I want to drag my shutter or use a longer shutter speed to bring that ambient light in. And then I'm going to use my flash to light the subject. Notice that I have him backlit by the ambient light, and aside from the video light, there really isn't any ambient light falling on his face. He's just being backlit. So as I drag my shutter to expose for the ambient light in the background, there isn't a lot of ambient light coming in onto his face, and that's where my flash is going to come into play. If there was, let's say, a street light hitting him directly in the face right now, as I dragged my shutter, used a slower shutter speed to bring in more ambient light, it would also be bringing in the ambient light that was hitting the front of him. And I want to keep that to a minimum just so I can use my light to light him. For this, I'm going to use a shoot-through umbrella. I'm going to use it because I want to shoot some full lengths. And the shoot-through umbrella on the ground is going to be a really nice, soft graduation of light across the ground, as opposed to a reflective umbrella, which would give me a hot spot near the umbrella, and then the light would fall off towards the subject. The shoot-through is just going to give a very soft, even light across the ground. I have to watch out, though, for lens flare, since the light is in between me and my subject. I'm shooting towards the light. The umbrella will light up and come right back into the lens, give me some flare. So I have a lens hood on. I'm shooting with my 85 1.8, and I'm going to be shooting somewhere around 2.8 at a pretty slow shutter speed to drag in the ambient light behind him. And I am at ISO 100 right now. I'm going to find my composition first, testing my exposure as well. Hold right there. And kind of do like the toe up, right there. Hold on. Faster. Awesome. You think I'm gonna have to get copyright permission for that? Oh, hey, there's our shot. Hey, come have your picture made. Come get your picture made. Come on, come get your picture made. What? No. Y'all already went wild. I'm shooting a lighting instruction for photographers.
All right.
So, here.
We have a birthday.
You step out for a second, Casey, and I'll have you stand right there. What's your name?
Ashley.
Ashley, I'm Zach.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Go stand in there.
Okay.
party pictures.
I don't want to. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Can you get a card out of the, it's out of the main, no, the business card.
Oh, where are they?
They're in the top of the camera bag.
Oh.
Awesome. All right. Turn this way as a group. Like rotate, like you come forward. Perfect. Right there. Hold that. Let me do a test shot real quick. This is more like the wedding applications that we would shoot. There. Awesome. So whose birthday is it? Yay. We'll put you in the center then.
Okay. Not a problem.
Awesome. Good. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to just a little bit forward, right there, and good. Y'all getting together again.
Okay.
I just need. There we go. Perfect. So if you're shooting more than one person, I'm labbed at the moment and talking. If you're shooting more than one person at a time, the main thing you have to worry about with using one light is the shadow of one person falling onto the next, especially when you grab 3 girls out of a car in a parking lot in Buckhead. Good, looking right here, happy birthday. At least you have an experience tonight to start your night off. Awesome, right here. Good, all right, thanks. Woo! Woo! Happy birthday.
Thank you.
They're going on a DVD. Hold on, here's a card.
A card?
Okay,
I have a card?
there you go.
Awesome.
Just so you know who photographed you. And
Okay. Can we look them up or something?
yeah, just email us and we'll send you, you know, some that you can have printed out.
Oh my god, that's so good! Alright, we want them. We want them all. No,
All right.
I really want that picture.
Well, we'll send you that picture.
And we're on video.
We should give all of us. Do you have 3 cards?
Do we have 3 cards?
Because the probability of all of us.
Where'd they go?
Oh my god, that's awesome. Okay, alright, so you know what? I'm going to put it in a special secret place. Oh,
Oh, dear Lord.
That, I really, really want a copy of that.
Awesome. So there
Thank you.
Got one.
there you go.
Thank
All right, y'all have a good night.
Zach.
Yes, I'm Zach.
Nice to meet you, Liz.
Nice to meet you, Liz. Happy birthday. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and kill the shoot through. I got a few images with that already. I'm going to go to a 10-degree grid spot right now and just pop a little bit of circle of light right on Casey's face. Be sure not to look directly into this because he's bright. And I have a 10-degree grid. And I'm just going to pop it right on Casey's face, just to light his face. All right, at f2.8, that's a little too bright. The flash is overexposed. I'm going to stop down to about 4.5. Test that, that looks good. The thing I like about this grid spot is I can pop just a bit of light right onto him. The rest of his body goes into silhouette, and I don't get some sort of kind of funky shadow from the light onto him. And I may... Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this out. I want the circle to be a little bit larger. Don't look right at this, but I want to pop it off. I am currently shooting at f4 at about ½ a second. I'm going to do the umbrella, and I'm going to have it flying right over my head to start with. Let's just see what that looks like. I love the color right here. Ambient light doesn't matter at all to me right now. I just need to have a proper exposure, and I need to go up to about 8th power. I'm going to shoot this at 2.8, a decent enough distance away. I want you to start clapping like you're in a black gospel choir. Yeah. Black gospel choir. Come on.
Come on.
Good. Looking at me doing that.
I'm blind.
That's a good one.
I like that one. Okay. I forgot you're not videoing this, so that's what's making me feel like a douche.
You forgot that we are videoing
I
it?
forgot you're not videoing me, per se, here. In my mind, you're videoing me Oh, shit.
Hey, I'm Andy of the Lady Vanishes, and I'm here to get my photographs taken.
We've got Andy set up on a roll of white seamless. I have a Nikon speed light up inside of the Westcott 50-inch softbox. It's set to 8th power. I want a shallow depth of field. That softbox is going to suck 2 stops of light as it is, and at a low power setting I should be shooting somewhere around f2 to 2.8, ISO 100, 2/50th of a second. I don't want to worry about any ambient light. I don't want any of that spotlight light that's hitting Andy right now to add into my exposure, so fast shutter speed to control that, and low power setting inside of a big soft box to keep a really shallow depth of field somewhere around that f2 to 2.8 range. Good. Oh, that looks great. I'm shooting with the 105 f2 right at f2. Really shallow depth of field. Eyes are tack sharp. If I was shooting this with an Alien B or something like that, there's no way that I could dial that down enough to be shooting at f2. So even though I have larger and more powerful lights at my disposal here, I'll still put them away. Bring your face just a little bit this way. Good. I'll still put them away and pull out like a speed light or something with a really low power so that I can shoot at really, really narrow depths of field. I'm shooting with Nikon's defocus control lens, and I haven't quite figured out if I like the defocus stuff yet or not. If you're shooting on white seamless, have a towel or something around that you can kick out to walk out on. I'm going to move my light around now, and I'm going to move it in an arc around Andy. I want just a little more dramatic, deeper shadow. Just want to get a little more light into the camera left eye. Take your face that way more, but keep your eyes kind of looking over here at me. I want the shadows like that. A little heavier shadow on the side of the face, but still keeping light in both eyes. And that's just a matter of positioning my subject to be a little more facing the light. I've got this big ugly ripple in my seamless that I have to deal with, that I can't get it out. Good. Actually, it's a little under right there, it looks like. I want to bump my ISO up because I want to keep shooting. So I'll change my ISO right here if I just need to change it a stop. I don't even need a full stop. I just need about 1/3 of a stop. If I need just a little more exposure out of that flash, I can get that from changing my ISO real quick at camera instead of getting up into the flash. Staying right there again, go do that. I've dropped to a really low shooting angle because I have this ripple in the floor. I want you to clap as though you are in a black gospel choir. Looking at me? See just a little bit of movement in the jacket, and it just, you know, you're doing something, but...
Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah. Since I have Andy kind of moving around, I've bumped up my ISO to 320, and I've bumped up my aperture to 3.2 because as he moves back and forth with such a narrow depth of field, I need to have a little leeway in my depth of field. Eyes open, looking at me, clapping. Now I want to make this background darker. So inverse square law comes into effect. And Andy, I'm going to have you come forward. Good, right there. I'm going to bring this in really close. I still want that really beautiful shallow depth of field in this. I'm going back down to ISO 100. I've brought it in a lot closer to Andy. So I'm going to bring down my power setting. Let's see what 64th looks like. 64th power. Really, really low amount of power. Bring it in really close, feathering it off that background because I don't want the background to go completely black. He has dark hair. It would fade right into the background pretty quickly. And I'm going to go back to F2, 2/50th. Just do a test shot. And it's underexposed to F2. I cannot open my lens anymore. I can go up in ISO, but I think what I'll do is I need to go up about a stop with my power setting on my flash. So that was 64th power. I'm at 32nd power now. And that's getting close. I'm going to bump my ISO up a third of a stop to compensate, just to get a little more exposure, and that is it right there. Okay, now I'm going to make that dark background go black. And he's just going to bleed into it. Good, hold it right there. I've got just a hair of density back there. And you know what, I think I'm going to keep that because it keeps just a little bit, separation. This is kind of an old master's kind of light style right here. And give me like a brown muslin backdrop back there, a hand-painted canvas, and we're good to go. I'm going to kind of backlight him now just to get it a little more dramatic. Hold right there. Really nice.
My name is Troy. I work at a place called the Supergroup where you should get your website designed. I do photography and a little bit of graphic design there.
Yeah, what of this bike here?
This is a 64 Schwinn that was a kind of Christmas present from a friend. I played a little bit of guitar and such on some recordings for him, and he gave me this.
So 64, pretty good year for the Schwinn, huh?
No. Yeah.
Troy Staines, who's a pretty amazing photographer in and of himself, has stopped by the photo shoot. And so he brought this awesome bike, and we're going to do a photograph of him on the bike. Good. Just doing our test shot. I've got the Alien B set to half power. I want to underexpose that background a good bit. Probably a little more than that even. I want it just a little more. Oh, just hanging out right there. I'm gonna pump up the power just a little bit. Let's try a full stop. That was F13, go to F20. Good, holding right there. Oh, that's kick-ass. Go back into that. Awesome.
Sweet. Looking good. I don't need no stylist.
No way. Oh, that's awesome. All right.
Sweet.
Let's shoot Andy now.
Cassie. I'm a student at Savannah College of Art and Design. Do a little modeling for the photography students there, and mostly focus on painting and sculpture.
I pulled out another piece of fabric and laid it over the fabric that has some pattern. I still want a little bit of that pattern to show through, but I want a different color. I like the color contrast between the background I have chosen right now and Cassie's dress. And for the lighting, I wanted the light coming right on top of her, but with one single light stand, it would be in my shot. If I take it off to the side, I'm going to get quite a bit of a shadow, and I'm not all against shadows for portraits. I don't mind shadows being in it, but for this particular shot, I didn't want a heavy side shadow to her. So I knew that if I had my light right in front, I wouldn't be getting a shadow cast off to the side if my light was to the side. But if I brought it around here to the front, then it's in my shot and I can't do anything with it. So I've made a ghetto boom. It's 2 light stands and a super clamp and a 25-pound sandbag. And I've just basically clamped my light rig on top of another stand and got it fairly equal in weight. It's not the most professional setup in the world, but instead of going out and buying a big boom system that might cost you $300 or $400, this can kind of work. You can throw it together pretty quickly. All right, so my light is on 16th power. It's currently a 120J up inside of a 28-inch softbox. I'm at ISO 100. And I'm going to take a test shot at 2.8. And 2.8 looks great. That's great. My 105 is just a little bit too long. I'm shooting in really tight quarters here. So I am going to switch to my 85. When shooting a portrait, you don't need a huge environment. You just need a little bit. Just something little. Just one little vignette of a place. One little spot with a little bit of color, a little bit of texture. I'm starting to sound like Bob Ross. Excellent. I'm going to get her separated off of that background. I'm shooting at 2.8. Should knock any texture off of the background. But still get a little color onto it. I want to stop down to 3.2. Let me have you back up just a bit. I want to just a little bit shallower depth of field. So I had her move back. But now she's casting a bit of a shadow on the background, so come on forward again. And I'm just going to live with it. If I switch that out with my Nikon, I could bring my power down some more. Come forward just a little bit more. Great beauty shot. Very clean, very simple. Having the light high above drops a little bit of a shadow under the chin. Nice light right in the eyes. Nice. Nice light. 28-inch Westcott softbox. I love it. I've got the SB80 Nikon speed light at full power. I'm trying to overpower the sun to a certain extent. I have it zoomed to about a 35 millimeter on the zoom lens of the flash head. I have the sun at Cassie's back. I'm trying to get kind of an action shot, and I'm at 200th of a second. Oh, there goes my sun. That's going to change my ambient light meter reading. I'll probably go to maybe 1/60th. Go ahead and let's hit that again. Yeah, it's a little bit darker. So I'm going to slow my shutter speed down, focus, and ready. Big jump. Sun came back out again. I'm going back up to 200th of a second. I'm at f/16, ISO 100. Perfect. All right, backing up. Big jump right there, right in the center. That's it. Awesome. Great.
Oh, cool.
See, it turns out.
It did. It worked.
Okay, Nikon speed light at about quarter power into a 60-inch umbrella reflective. We have pretty nice available light here, but just not enough pop in the eyes. I want a nice, soft light source, kind of like what we have going on with the available light here, but it just really, this is going to just clean up the eyes and add just a little better contrast to the photo. I am shooting this at 4.5 at 2/50th of a second. And just popping that light just into the eyes. We had some wind just a minute ago. I hope it comes back. Good. And we just found this old shed here, just out behind a building near our studio. Just walk across the street. Like I said, when you're location scouting, you don't need much. And the other thing I like about this is I can kind of stack some of this green foliage that's in the foreground. I can stack it into my shot. Hold right there. If I was shooting on camera flash right now, I'm kind of stacking a couple different layers of foliage and elements in front of my camera. If I was shooting on camera flash, all of this stuff would be getting filled up. If I was shooting available light, there's a lot more light hitting these leaves than there is our subject. So by the time I've exposed properly for her, then these leaves, especially the tops of these leaves, would be overexposed. But I can control that ambient light, kind of playing with both hands. Control the ambient light with my shutter speed. Good. Keeping the exposure down on these leaves in front of me. With your face, yeah, your face kind of in that direction. Good. Got kind of a cool shot here. We're in really tight quarters on really rocky ground and lots of hills. I can't really use a light stand here very well, and I can't fly an umbrella right in here. It's just kind of too tight of quarters. I like this shot right here. It's a really clean shot of the sky. We've got great clouds and a nice blue in the sky right now. I want to underexpose that a little bit. I can frame her within the frame with these trees back here and with the side of this building, but I don't want to shoot with straight flash. So for my kind of larger light source, I'm going to use the side of this building here. And since I'm having a hard time trying to get my light stand in here, if I try to put it in over here, it's at an angle, and it's not going to do me a whole lot of good there. So I'm just going to hand hold my flash, and I'm just going to hold it up into this wall. It's going to hit the wall, and I'm just going to foop it, as some say. Good. A little more serious. I'm making sure that the light doesn't directly hit Cassie. I'm shooting a little too wide. I'm shooting at f8 at 2/50th of a second. You know what? To get this just right, I'm gonna go ahead and stick it on a stand. Sort of hold the stand and get on the ground. I've gotten a couple good frames like this, but it's kind of that hit and miss. If I can get this to sort of stay, and I can drop. Now I'm going to go straight flash. Let's just take a look at that. And let me position it a little better. It's coming high. Coming high. Good. Hold right there. I'm going to have to change my aperture. And I'm gonna change my card. Hold on a second. I'm gonna go down to like quarter power. Try to find some place where this can somehow stand, maybe. Kick it into the dirt. All right. It's Pro Gear. Pro Gear is supposed to hold up. Do a light test real quick. Yeah, it looks good. It's lighting up the whole environment in front of her. Good. I'm wondering, do you think there's any way of scooting back but hopping through it like you're doing that sort of jump thing this way? Do you think that's possible? Whoa.
Maybe.
Where you're, like, it's almost like if you're doing a hop right over this little side to land here. That's it. Holy crap. Yeah. That's it. Okay. All right. Good job. That's a wrap. We have the band Skyline Drive in the studio today. We've got 4 guys that we need to shoot with 1 light. And we're going to start on just a pulled out roll of white seamless. And we have a Nikon SB80, just a Nikon speed light up inside of the Westcott 50-inch softbox. I'm definitely not going to pull out a small, like 28-inch softbox when I'm shooting 4 people. And the main thing I'm trying to think about when I'm shooting 4 people with 1 light source is that I get an even light coverage across every single person. And as I position members of the band, I'm positioning them in a way that each person does not cast another shadow onto the next person. So I'm trying to keep everyone kind of layered and staggered in the shot so that light can hit each individual person, since I'm just using 1 light to cover them. I also have to think about the inverse square law. If I get my light source too close to one side of the group of 4, then the contrast from one side of the exposure to the other side is going to be too much. One person's going to be a couple stops brighter than the other person at the other end of the group. So with as big of a light source as that 50-inch softbox is, I can have it fairly close to them, but I need to keep an eye to make sure that exposure across the frame is staying consistent. I am shooting at quarter power. I have quarter power on the Nikon Speedlight up in the softbox, and I'm now shooting at an ISO of 400 because I need a greater depth of field. I'm shooting more people, so I don't want to be shooting this at f2 or something like that. Then our lead singer Cliff's going to be in focus, everyone's going to be out of focus, and we're going to have this real Gwen Stefani kind of moment happen with him. And the rest of the guys are just going to be blobs in the background. I don't want that to happen. So I need a smaller aperture, greater depth of field. I can do that by going higher in power on my flash, but then I'm using more batteries, and I'm having to wait longer for recycle times. So one thing I can do here, since available light isn't really any kind of option that I need to worry about, I'm just not worried about available light right now, is I'm going to up my ISO so I can get up into that 5.6 to f8 range and have plenty of depth of field for the shot. Something like that. I'll probably try to re-explain that while I'm shooting, maybe. Who knows? That was the longest intro of the day today. Okay, just a test shot. Just hanging out right there. Good. Hold that. That really looks good. I need to back my light out just a little bit to even out the exposure across the group. I'm at 5.6 at 2/50th of a second. I'm using a longer lens here because I've got 4 guys on a 9-foot white seamless. And if I get too close to them with a wider lens, then I'm going to start to see the edge of the set. With a longer lens, I can compress the background a good bit. Let me see what a full length looks like here. Now then, one thing I have going on here is I have a shadow coming here, hitting him right in the stomach, right in the torso area. But he's wearing a black shirt, so I'm really not going to worry about that shadow. It's a black shirt with a shadow on it. You barely notice it, but his face is lit well. And as long as all the faces are lit well, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind, lit well, then I'm happy with that. Perfect. I'm gonna check my histogram. I'm almost losing a little bit of the red channel. So I'm going to 6.3, 2/50th of a second. Looks good, gentlemen. Looking right here, everyone. This will be good black and white, too. Good. I have this stuff called tile board laying down on the floor right now. It's going to give me just a bit of reflection. I'm going to try taking this boom. This is a heavier boom than my ghetto boom that I had earlier today. I'm going to try not to kill anyone. And I just want this flying right over their head. I've moved them further away from the background. I've gotten my light closer to them. It's right over top of them and a little bit feathered off of the background. And what I want is that white background to go darker. So inverse square law combined with kind of feathering that light off of the background a little bit. It's coming right over top of them, so I have to watch out to make sure that the eye sockets don't get too dark. I'm not going to be too worried about it. It's so large and it's in front of them a little bit. There should be enough of that fabric over them to kick some light back into the eyes so they're just not pitch black under here. All right. It looks good. It's clean, it's simple, and it'll make a really nice black and white, and everyone's lit evenly. So the larger the group, or the more people you're shooting, the larger the light source you want. We have the band up on a hill. I want just pure clean sky. And I was really going to be excited about this shot today because we had these amazing clouds earlier. About 45 minutes ago, all the clouds disappeared. Just happens all the time. So, but still want to control that sky. It's fairly bright still. The sun hasn't quite gotten down behind the horizon. I have the Alien Bee at about quarter power with a shoot-through umbrella, 60-inch shoot-through umbrella. It's a little bit of an odd, uneven ground where I have the light stand, so Noah's got a hold of that. And we have 25 pounds of sand on it. And the light is far enough away that I have a good, even exposure across the band. I just have to worry about one person's shadow falling onto another person's shadow. And that's just simply rearranging people and kind of staggering them. So, you guys just standing right there. Let me get a test shot here. Just trying to keep each person separated from intersecting the other. And Brian, on this side, just a little bit back, like half a step back, just trying to control a shadow that he's casting onto James. Good. And Brian on this side, just a little bit forward. My sky looks good. I have nice detail in the sky. not underexposing it too badly. I've got a 40-degree grid right now. I just want to keep a circle of light on them. And I need to make sure it's positioned correctly. I think it's pointing a little too much at the ground. It is. I need to point it up a bit. I use grid spots. Come back with it to me. There we go, try that. That's perfect. I like grid spots. It just focuses the eye right where I want it. I have my Alien B set to its lowest power setting. I don't need a whole lot of light here. I can shoot fast. Quick recycle times. Good, let's go to the next look. We are working with the 40-degree grid again, what we just did with the last shot. I want to pop a light just onto the band, a little bit onto the wall around them, and a little bit on the ground, but I want everything else to go black, naturally vignetting. I have an idea for it in post-production. Good, hold that right there, guys. Good. I just need to rotate this a little bit so the circle of light's very even on them. Just a bit more. And when you're moving a grid around, 1/4 of an inch can make a big difference. I'm shooting this at 5.6 at 1/4 of a second. An Alien B at its lowest power setting. So this could be shot with a 120J, with a Nikon, with a Canon. Throw a little grid on it. I'm going to go to 1/8 of a second. Bring my ambient light down just a bit. I'm just dragging in a little bit of that sky. That's good right there. This is making me happy. Then I'm gonna take it all black. And I'm gonna take all that ambient out with my shutter speed. I'm going back up to 2/50th of a second, killing all of the ambient. And I'm gonna zoom in to just get the edges of the circle of this light. This looks great. And in the post-production part, I'll show you what I do with that. All right, that's a wrap, guys. All right, we are in Lightroom now. We're going to take a look at some of the photos, and I'll talk a little bit about how I use Lightroom on a day-to-day basis. It took me a little while to adopt Lightroom. I used to work in Bridge pretty much exclusively with my raw files, and I finally made the switch to Lightroom. I didn't like the fact that I had to catalog and keyword my images to bring them in to work on them and look at them, but I finally got over that. It's pretty much the interface that got me, the ability that for me to brand the interface for whatever client was sitting in front of me. If it's a headshot client, I can put my Used Film Studios logo there. If it's a music client, I can brand the whole screen to match zacharias.com. I can put my logo there. So as a client sits in front of it and goes through a shoot with me, then it seems like a proprietary piece of software for my studio, and I really like that about that. And I love the fact that I can upload a web gallery right to my server from Lightroom. It has a FTP client built in, and you can create a gallery and upload it right away. So for the purpose of this DVD, we've had to go to a 1024 widescreen just to fit into the 4:3 aspect ratio. And not every single bit of detail is going to come out on the screen that you're watching. This is also not really a Lightroom tutorial, as I'm not a software teacher. I can kind of tell you how I set it up and how I use it, but there are an amazing amount of websites, blogs, and podcasts dedicated to workflow, dedicated to Lightroom or dedicated to Bridge, whatever you want to use. I know people who use Photo Mechanic. I know people who use 3 or 4 different software titles to get through a shoot. They do their edit in one and they do their adjustments in another. If you're going out and you're shooting and you're just opening each image up in Photoshop and adjusting and closing, then Photoshop 3.0 called and said you need to eat ramen noodles for 2 months until you can afford to get something like Lightroom or work in Bridge or something that's going to make your post-production life much easier. If you're just opening a picture, adjusting and closing in Photoshop, my condolences. There are a lot better ways of doing things. So all of that said, we're looking at it at a little more narrow of a screen than normal. I'm used to it being on a wider screen monitor. It's a little compact right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through the shoot and take a look at the pictures. And to just look at the photos, I'm going to use the Tab key to get rid of my side menus. I'm also not a big fan of the film strip down here. Eric, who's my studio manager, likes the film strip. I'm not a big fan of the film strip, so I can click that little arrow and get rid of that. Anytime I need to pull up one of these menus, I can just simply mouse over to the side and it'll pull up. And I'm going to hit the F key to kind of take over the whole screen like that. If you're working dual monitors, you can hit the F key again, and you can take your window and move it on to another monitor. And again, F just toggles through the different screen areas here. I can even bring this up out of the way, so if all I want to do is take a look at photos, I can do that. The first thing that I typically do when I have a shoot finished and imported into Lightroom is I'll go through and do an editing process. And I'll pull an image up just by double clicking it in the grid view, and I'll start going through them. And pictures that I like will get a rating of 4, let's just say. I'll just go through a shoot. Oh, Casey's gonna love these pictures. There. If there's something that's just particularly just really stands out, I'll rate it at 5. There's a 5. He's going, oh, that's a 5 too. 5s are going to be images that show up on my blog or on my website. 4s will just be those delivered to the client. There's one of Eric. Don't hate the 918. Alright, we have Andy. I like that one. I like that one a little more. Let me go to 5. So I'll just go on through the job like this, figuring out which pictures I want. I love that picture. Good. Just going through the shoot like that. Alright, I've edited this down just a little bit, show a couple different pictures, and just show you a quick kind of basic flow of work that I do with my workflow. I have my filter down here at the bottom menu set to 4 stars, so it's just showing me the pictures that I've picked out. And one thing I'm looking for in my shooting is consistency. I want to look across a series of pictures and see that I was a consistent photographer, shooting consistently, that my exposures were consistent throughout the shoot. And if, like, these two are a little dark, these are fine, these are fine, these are fine. So these two are a little dark, that's not a problem for me. What becomes a problem is if from this photo of Andy to this photo of Andy, if I suddenly start to have a difference in exposure from shot to shot to shot to shot to shot. And this is why it's so important for me to shoot on manual mode on my flash and in manual in my camera, so that my exposure is consistent all of the time. If I was shooting some sort of automatic setting or a TTL setting, we could begin to see a variance over a series of several images. So as long as I have control over the situation and I'm in manual, then I'm going to have consistent exposures throughout a shoot. So one thing that I'll do is, like with this photo of Casey, I'll take a look at that, and I'm going to bring up the develop setting. That's this right up here. Let's pull this down. We're in library mode right now, and I'm going to go to develop, or I could just hit the D key, and I'm going to pull in this window here. We have our basic settings of temperature and tint and exposure, the shadows, the midtones, the highlights, brightness and contrast. I'll use tone curve quite a bit. There's a few things that I'll do in the hue, saturation, and luminance. And detail, I'll usually come in and add just a little bit of sharpening, not much. I love to have some vignette. And there are times I get into specific color channels in the camera calibration area. But I am not the best person to teach you post-production. I know what works for me, and I pick up little things here and there all the time. I'm still really learning Lightroom, honestly. I learn new things about Lightroom all of the time, and I'm not going to turn this into a Lightroom tutorial because there are so many blogs and websites and podcasts dedicated to Lightroom and dedicated to workflow that are far better sources of information than I can give you. But let's just take a look at the few of the photos here that we have. The first thing I do is I want to test my exposure, and I want to make sure I'm not clipping. So on a Mac, I'm holding down Option key, and I don't want to see a picture get into this area here. That's just far too overexposed for me. I want to make sure that I'm keeping detail in pretty much all of my channels. If a little bit of my red channel is blowing out, I don't mind that too much, but I'll just back that off a little bit. I also want a rich black somewhere in the photo, something that goes deep black. So same thing, holding down the Option key, and we can see where the shadows begin to clip. That is far too dark. So I'll pull that back, and I see that I do have a deep black right in here in the vest. So I'm good with that. I'll check my color balance, and your screen that you're watching on may vary. Right there, his skin looks to be a pretty neutral tone, and this weird sodium vapor or methamphetamine light, whatever that stuff is back there, is going a little funky. I don't have a gel on my light to balance the white balance of the light, the color temperature of the light, to whatever that LSD light is back there. So a lot of times in a lot of situations, there's your fix. And when I'm shooting at night, I shoot a lot of black and white. I like black and white street scenes at night, so it just kind of lends itself to that. I'll do a little vignette. I rarely do a very hard vignette, but I like to have a really soft vignette. In the darkroom, we called it the four-corner burn, and we'll just do something like that. If we want to keep some color in it, and we want to try to deal with maybe changing the hue of this area over here in the orange, we can come up to our hue, saturation, and I'm going to click on hue, and this little target right here, little bullseye, I'm going to click on that, and then wherever I go with my mouse in the photo, I can use my scroll to scroll up and down and change the hue of that specific target. If I want to bring the saturation of it down, maybe I can do that. I can bring the saturation of that color down, and we'll work on the hue just a little more, maybe make it a little more believable. So I can go in and specifically work on those color channels. I have brought his skin tone down just a little bit. It's desaturated him just a little. So maybe I come back over to the skin tone, and that's going to warm him up a little bit. And I'm just using my scroll tool on, or my scroll button on my mouse to go up and down. So you can go in and affect certain color areas. We'll see that again coming up in the sky. But for this shot, I like it black and white. And you can get into grayscale here. Please don't send me emails about, oh, there's this other way of doing black and white, and you can do this and you can do that. I know people who go through 18 different levels just to sharpen their photos. I'm a big believer in doing it right in camera, using sharp lenses, as sharp as I can afford, and just getting things done right in camera, and not coming in here and doing 14 different steps in making one black and white photo. I will come in and deal with specific tones in a black and white if I need to. If I need to make a certain blue pop out more than another, then I can just go in and work on that blue channel within the grayscale mix. Even here, if I just take my red, I can bring more detail out or in. And again, this DVD really isn't a post-production DVD, but I'm just going to show you some of the things that I do. So we have that of Casey. I'm going to go back into the library mode, or the grid, and I'm just going to press the G key, and we bring that back up. If I like that and I want to apply that to the next one, then with this picture of Casey selected, I will shift click to that one and then come over here and hit sync settings. I'm going to have everything synchronized, and it will just pop that onto there. One nice thing about Lightroom that I really like is when I'm in the develop mode, I can come right over here to this left panel, and I can pull up a history of what I've done to a photo, and I can always go back. I can always go right back to the photo where it started, right out of camera. And if we go back over to this one, we'll have more things that I did here. This is the first image I worked on. So Lightroom will give you a little preview as you step back through everything that you've done to a photo. So if you feel that you went too far in one thing or another in Lightroom, you can always go into the history and go back. It's a really nice feature. Alright, back into the grid. So here's Andy. Bring that up. We're going to go into develop mode. I just press D. And when you're shooting on a white seamless, it's going to be a pretty neutral gray. And if you're trying to figure out your proper color balance for the photo, you can grab your eyedropper tool here in the white balance slider area and just come pick a part of the gray, and that's going to get you pretty close. I know that with my Nikon files, the red channel gets pretty heavy, so I'll come into camera calibration. I'll bring my red saturation down just a bit and push the hue a little more into the yellow and away from the magenta in the red channel, and that gives me a little better skin tone. And I'm going to go back into the library by pressing G, and if I like that, I'm going to select all of these photos, sync settings, and there we go, and pop it through. So here we have Troy and Andy on the bike. Let's take a look at this one. So we have a pretty good sky here. I had to use the Alien B on this shot because it was so bright, and I wanted to underexpose it as much as possible. So the more power I had, it was going to make it a lot easier for that, and I wanted to use my big softbox. This shot would have been really hard to pull off without the Alien B, the B1600, because I wouldn't have gotten enough power out of just a straight-on flash. Let me restate that as like a hot shoe flash, like an SB800 or a 580 or a Vivitar 285 or a 120J. I wouldn't have had enough power inside of that big softbox to get the aperture needed at the high shutter speed to keep detail here in the sky. So I'm going to go into develop, and I'm going to start up here. I usually start with exposure first, just testing exposure. I don't want to get that sky blown out. I want to keep detail in there. Bring it down a bit. Make sure that I have a deep, rich black somewhere in my photo. And for this photo, I'm going to warm it up a little bit and then pull the saturation down a little. Just a little bit of that desaturated, warm kind of tone on it. Maybe warm it up just a bit more. I want to come in and deal with this blue. I'd like to get this blue back. So I'm going to come in to my hue saturation. I'm going to grab that little bullseye. And I'm going to come into this blue and let me do saturation. I'm going to pump up that saturation just a little bit. Right in that area. I can come in and pump up the saturation of his shirt a little more. And then in hue, I'm going to come into the sky area here. Let me get the bullseye again. And I'm going to just maybe cool that sky down. No, it's cooling down too much. We'll keep it warm. We're going to go into luminance. I'm going to change the luminance of that sky. I can make it a little darker, a little moodier. Right in about there. Come back in and tweak my color. Not so warm. Somewhere in there. I'm going to come in and put a pretty heavy vignette on this one. That's going to help bring in a little more detail of that sky. And back up in basic, I'm going to bring clarity. Clarity's kind of, I don't know, an edge sharpener or something. It's going to bring just a little more detail out of those clouds. I want just a little more pop of contrast. I'm going to bring my recovery slider in just to bring even more detail out of those clouds. And I'm going to go to tone curve. And my lights down. I'm going to bring my highlights up. I just want a little more of a pop. My darks down. I'm not happy with the color right now. So I'm going to bring that up. Cool it off just a bit. And then just add a little bit of warmth back. And I'm going to push the shadows just a little deeper. Something like that. And you can tell I have a dusty sensor on this shoot. But it's sharp. Got nice moody sky. I'm going to do just a little bit of crop on it. Just a hair. I don't want to cut his foot off. And enter. And I'm looking for something like that. Alright, let's go back to the grid. If I like that, I can come in and apply that to the rest of these pictures with my synchronize, but I'm not going to apply that crop. I could if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. And here's Mr. Troy. Alright. Here we have Cassie in the studio. Going to develop. Check my highlights. Just a little bit of a punch. Here's where I don't have any black in my photo and I want to just get a little bit, black, a little fill light, kind of open up just a little bit and cool the skin down just a little. I'll come in with a little vignetting, not real heavy. I'm not a vignetter that will go really deep like that, but I'll typically have my midpoint pulled out further than my vignette, just a soft little burn around the corners for most of what I do. Looks good, so we can come in and apply that. Synchronize, and I will pop that through all of these photos. Let's take a look at this one right here. Alright, so we're going to come into the develop. It looks really good right out of camera, but I want to boost the blue up a little bit. I want to boost the greens. This is straight out of camera. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with the exposure. I'm going to hold down my option key and check my shadows. Give it just a little more punch and contrast. I want to see how much detail. I have plenty of detail left in those clouds up there. and I could probably bring just a hair more in with my recovery. Even when I don't have blown highlights, I'll still use the recovery a good bit. And then I'm going to come into that hue saturation. I'm going to hit saturation, my bullseye, and just punch up the blues a little bit. And then I can come in here and find a green area and punch those greens up just a little bit. I'm always keeping an eye on the skin tone just to make sure that I'm not blowing skin too far out of neutral. I'm going to come back down to camera calibration. I'm going to pull my red saturation down just a little bit and push that hue just up a bit. There, that's that. Go back to grid. I wanted to mention that taking one of these shots of Skyline Drive, something I had in mind in Photoshop with this while I was out shooting. Let's go ahead and open this up in Photoshop. While shooting the last few photos for Skyline Drive, I mentioned that I would pull one up and show you something that I had in mind for the post-production of this picture while I was shooting. And one thing I want to just state that's important is as you're out shooting and you're working with light and working with different modifiers, keep in mind the different things that you can be doing later in post-production. And when I say things you can do later in post-production, for me it's usually something that I can do quick and efficiently and easily, and something that I can even show my clients how to do themselves if they have a copy of Photoshop laying around. So what I'm going to do is turn this horizontal image into a vertical image for a concert poster or for a promo mailer, or if they're doing a web banner or a MySpace comment or anything like that. I used the 40-degree grid spot specifically to bring in this circle, and I composed the frame to make sure that the image had black all the way around the edges. Now I could have shot it without a grid and then brought it into Photoshop and vignetted this down and burned down the corners and just spent some time burning this all down in Photoshop. But I prefer to do it in camera. I prefer to be very deliberate with what I'm doing and be thinking ahead and have preconceived ideas of what I'm wanting to do with the picture once it's done. So we're going to take this image, I'm going to make sure it's black all the way from edge to edge, and I'm just going to hold down the Option key with my levels. Come on, what did I do? Option key, levels on the shadows, and we can see that the shadows are clipped all the way around the photo. Let's make sure it's clipped over in this corner too. It is. So there is zero detail from edge to edge to edge to edge on this photo, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to take my crop tool, see, crop tool right here, and I've already gone in and I've made the aspect ratio 11 inches wide by 17 inches high, and for the purpose of this demonstration we'll just do 72 dpi. If I was delivering this to the client, then they would get it at 300 dpi. They would get this horizontal image, and then they would get this image I'm about to make. I'm going to make sure that over here on my background swatch that it's set to black. I want black as my background swatch, and I want to make sure here in my layers palette that the image is a background image and it's locked. And I'm going to zoom out just a bit, and I'm going to pull out a crop on the photo and let go of the mouse button. Let me do that again. I'm going to bring in my crop tool, I'm going to pull it out and let go. These little tick marks will show up at the edges here along the edges of your crop. You can begin to pull that out past your image, and I want to pull it on out past the little circle of light there, like that. This is going to be my new composition here. With my background swatch set to black, as soon as I hit enter, everything in this area here is going to go black. Now my client has
plenty of space to begin working with adding logo or text or concert dates or any kind of information, any sort of artwork that they might need to have here. Let's see, they're going to pull in a logo. And you may be working with clients who don't need concert posters, but you need promotional material yourself. So when you're out and about shooting, you're getting pictures that your clients are going to be happy with, but in the back of your mind, be thinking about your own promotional material. Maybe you need a poster for your photography, or you need a 4x6 postcard to send out to people. I've brought in a logo here. It's black text on a white background, of course. I am going to hit Command I to invert it, and just simple, quick changes. And that's what I'm looking to do in my photography, is just have a lot of options, take a lot of control over the situation, and that when I do open these up into Photoshop, I can make changes quickly, and I can give an added value to my clients by saying, listen, you don't need to spend hours working on these images to make them into promotional items for yourself. Just a simple change of a crop tool. We can take a horizontal and quickly make it into a vertical, and you can use it for promoting your music or promoting your product or whatever you're doing. Or I can be using it to promote myself. So this is it. It's kind of wrapping it up. Not just 6 months of shooting and editing and all of the production that's gone into this DVD, but this is sort of a mountaintop for the last 10 years of my life that I've been pursuing this craft. And I lost it for a while and had to walk away from the cameras for a few years, and by God's grace I got to come back. And when I came back to photography from leaving my job at Kinko's, I really never ever thought I would be doing any sort of project like what you're watching right now. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and for being part of this and encouraging me through the process. And I'm going to end up this DVD with a slideshow of pictures. I know that throughout the production of this DVD you've been able to see the creature comforts of the career, like assistants and high-powered strobes and external battery packs and, heck, pocket wizards. It took me 3 years to get a set of pocket wizards. In fact, the first few workshops were conducted with borrowed and rented pocket wizards because I couldn't afford to purchase them myself. So I've built my career over the last 5 years now, up to the point that I have a Alien B, which is still nowhere near a Elinchrom or a Pro Photo rig that I'd like to have. But the Alien B rig is really nice. It keeps me happy. I have a couple sets of pocket wizards now. I have an assistant now, and it's fantastic. I won't lie to you. It's really nice, but I still do a lot of work just on my own with very small hot shoe flashes. And I'm going to end this thing up with a slideshow of pictures that were made without all the creature comforts, with the very minimal, basic, least expensive gear I could get my hands on. I hope you've enjoyed this. We'd love to see you over at the One Light Workshop forums, and be sure to check out the booklet that was included with the DVD here for some more information about all of this madness. Thanks a lot.
Maybe the rooster crowed too late in the afternoon. Perhaps the old church bells were biding their time. Under their eaves they did not see me search for you. You left before I was ready to let go of you.
Opportunity predates ingenuity.
Because one of those rigs will give you F16 at full problem all day long. Full problem? What am I talking about? Yeah.
Tending to delivery of post-approved notions of thought distributed independently. So we're inherently the illest, realest, the honest and truest cats this side of the galaxy. So pat my back.
I'm just going to put my hand in here and do another take. Great.
Servitude or self-sufficiency, that's how it's gotta be. Acceptance or independency. Servitude or self-sufficiency, that's how it's gotta be. So unleash the schemes or the autocrat.
I'm going to get a cleaner round circle of light. Round circle. Round circle. Good job. Square circle? Yeah. Rectangular circle. I get triangle circles. That's how good I am.
Injecting a new germ that breeds and populates wave patterns and spreads its seeds. Pollinating.
We already have a certain level of trust. Not a certain level of trust. I always lock my car when you're nearby. Hi, Christina. Thank you for coming in today.
Stare in judgment and see what exists within your mind can also exist publicly. Servitude or self-sufficiency.
All right, are we ready to go?
We got a good little change.
No, I'm sorry.
So unleash the schemes or the autocrats and servitude or self-sufficiency. That's how it's gotta be. Acceptance or independency. Servitude or self-sufficiency. That's how it's gotta be. So unleash the schemes or the autocrats.
Hi, we're going to be talking about the 5 aspects of exposure control. And I'm reporting here live from Strongbadia. Do you get the Homestar reference?
Proven deliverance with integrity and persistence. Cause it's all I got and I'm using it in this instance. And now I insist on recuperance. Cause I paid my share like others of my ilk. But our slush funds drying up without a care. Like Medicare or Medicaid, the deficit in morals we've made. So where do you stand in this new age? Servitude or self-sufficiency, that's how it's gotta be. Acceptance or independency. Servitude or self-sufficiency, that's how it's gotta be. So unleash the schemes or the autocrats and servitude or self-sufficiency, that's how it's gotta be. Acceptance or independency. Servitude or self-sufficiency,